Hey there guys, Bizzleberry here with a patch 8.11 support tier list. I'll be going through a couple of changes I've made to the list since 8.10, and there's a couple of things I want to highlight because this patch and the last patch as well were really big changes. So with the marksman changes this patch, it's made crit ADs. It's nerfed crit ADs by quite a substantial amount. I can see Riot maybe adjusting some numbers later on in a couple of patches time, but right now more of the ADs that don't rely so much on crit are being played. So Ezreal, Kaiser, I've seen a couple of Misfortunes, Varus. The champions have been kind of hit hard by the change. Mainly like anyone that really relied on an Infinity Edge early, so that could rely on someone like Xayah, Ashe. So Essence Reaver has been picked up a lot, which is enforcing a lot of these caster / lethality marksmen to be played in solo queue. Which what that means is that the late game potential on those champions is quite poor generally. So it's all going to be about the first 25 minutes of the game. That's when those champions sort of thrive, and so after that point they fall off. To reinforce that statement, if you're going with a burst marksman, you really need to be picking a champion now where you will have a lot of control especially during the laning phase as well, because if you fall behind right now, both teams have really high burst bot lanes, so whoever even falls behind even by a little bit will fall behind a lot and throughout the entire game, and there'll be no late game situation when they can come back in the game. So you kind of need to really fight fire with fire and burst with burst and whoever comes up who's the most skillful, and there are a couple counters to a couple of the champions, but generally overall speaking, there's going to be a lot more action in bot lane. Jungle is going to be involved in some cheesy level 2 ganks as well with scuttle control in the river. It's highly likely that if the enemy jungler starts on your side, that he goes to scuttle on the river and then he comes down for a level 2 gank. So make sure you get that river warded very early to prevent that gank from happening. So we'll start with the tier 2 and then we'll go up to tier 1. Anything below tier 2 can still be played, but it will struggle a lot, even more so because of how volatile bot lane is right now in terms of high damage, high burst champions. So in the tier 2 list, we've got Rakan, Soraka, Lux, Janna, Alistar, Brand, and Lulu. So Rakan and Janna and Brand have been moved down a notch. So Rakan is probably still the best champion in that S tier list. If I had to place him anywhere, I'd probably place him 5th. His ult is really good at stopping some of these assassins and even some of the bursty champions as well. He did receive a couple of nerfs this patch. Nothing crazy, but there's still nerfs with his heal and his shields on other people. So he has less utility in shielding and healing there. His ult is still incredible at locking down an assassin that jumps into your team. It's just that he is incredibly squishy during the laning phase. If you miss a W, and also Xayah isn't being picked up now, so that Rakan and Xayah is a much weaker combination now. So if you go in with a W and you miss, you're against 2 very high bursty champions usually in bot lane, and you got no escape, and you'll put yourself in an extremely bad spot. So just bear that in mind if you make any play on bot lane. Janna got moved down. Burst, she doesn't do too well laning phase against burst. She then has to start playing a lot passive. So if she's against a double burst bot lane, then she's not going to have many opportunities to do her W. And she is very squishy, so if she gets caught out by doing that, that's easily a flash or more. So she will have to be played against double burst in a lot more of a protective role. So you're relying a little bit more on your AD carry on that front, so that pushes her down to S, so you haven't got that lane carry potential against those double bursts. Brand, I like Brand still, but I think he's fallen a little bit here because a lot of matchups now are not even considering taking a single tank. Right now it's assassin, 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 burst, burst, burst. It's even rare just to see one tank on the enemy team. So that's his passive. Strength has fallen off a fair amount because of that, because no one's taking a single tank right now. Everyone's taking assassin jungles as well. So his damage can be good in clumped up team fights if they've got a lot of melees on their team. His ulti can provide a lot there. But his Baron control as well. He can kill Baron decently quickly with Liandry's. It's just the fact that now Baron is so weak in terms of damage dealt that Baron is not as much of a threat as it used to be, and Brand having the urgency to be able to kill Baron particularly quickly was more of a thing, but now people are two-manning Baron fairly comfortably right now, so I can this tier list might swap and change over quite a bit over the next few patches as Riot twiddles with numbers and sorts out some of the issues that are with Baron and crit ADs right now. Some definitely notable champions to mention here. With the attack speed based champions and caster based ADs being played more often, Lulu can be a champion here that has potential to do pretty well. I can see Kokomore being played a lot more. Kaiser's still very strong, and there's a couple of other attack speed champions that can be taken. So Lulu is definitely one to watch out for. She can be played a little bit more often now because there's definitely more opportunities to pick her. Alistar against double burst, usually one or two of them are going to be pretty squishy. So following up on a burst with your AD carry and with your jungler will provide a lot. But once again, if you do mess up there, it does put you in a bit of a vulnerable state. So he has more kill potential than the Rakan. But once again, you're going full in and you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position, especially pre-6. Now Lux is an interesting pick here because she is very bursty herself, and her poke, in my opinion, is the safest of all the AP supports. Her E range is really, really nice. Once you hit 6, if you manage to land one of those bindings, whether it's just straight out luck, could say it was Luxy, and then Q cast a minion, and then it goes through to the enemy. If you do your E and your ult, it does an insane amount of damage, and depending on how far you are ahead in lane, it can one-shot. So having the snipe potential, especially when everyone on the enemy team is pretty squishy, it does a crap ton of damage, especially double binding plus ulti always has done a rather large amount of damage. The AoE shield as well just helps everyone else being slightly more tanky. It's like a mini Lulu shield in everyone, which is amazing. So yeah, she's definitely a notable pick, and Soraka as well is able to make, as with Lulu, is able to make targets a lot more tankier than you would assume because of the heal output as well. So they're all decent champions in the S tier, but the champions in the S plus tier are just a step ahead. So Morgana is still there after many patches now. She is definitely the safest bind pick you can take and still have really good lane control. Her bindings can be incredibly deadly. She is able to block a decent amount of CC for Black Shield. Her lane damage is not as quite high as the other APs, but it's still enough for her to get kill threat. Her ulti as well, really decent kill threat with Black Shield and just flashing in, ulting, and just taking it from there. And she has extremely nice kill potential, and also she negates a lot of those engaged tanks if they do go for, like the Alistar and the Rakan, partially the Thresh, but Black Shield doesn't do a particularly great job about Thresh because he can still follow up on his Q. So Zyra has moved from S to S+. So I've been really enjoying playing Zyra with Arcane Comet. I've really fallen in love with her again. She is once again a reasonable safe pokey champion. If you catch them with roots and then follow up with ulti, it's a crap ton of damage, so she does a good amount of AP, especially if you're ahead, but also provides that pill. if your team ever does need it, when, you know, there's 3 assassins probably going to be running at you in this current meta. So her ulti, if you're able to survive, does provide a lot of worth. Once again, with Leandries, she will be able to help out a lot easier with the Drakes, and the Barons and plants can obviously tank 2 hits before each plant dies. So especially in those earlier dragons, it could help out your jungler a little bit there as well in those situations as well, so he doesn't go too low health. The Thresh pick is he is S tier because not only do you have the option to roam, but also able to get into your assassin jungler into the lane is amazing. It's basically a free flash for him, and if you flash with the W as well, with your lantern as well, it's the equivalent of 2 flashes for free for your jungler, which does get a lot into those situations. But I would generally play him against some of these more squishier champions, like the Lux, the Lulu, the Brand, the Nami. Playing it against Zyra might be tricky because of the seeds and the plants. You might block off a hook, so you just need to be careful of that one. And he can disengage if you're quick enough. You have to be really quick. You can flay, disengage Leona, Rakan, Alistair. So he has the potential to stop plays, but he also is a great playmaker. Also being able to help your jungler around with on the bot side with how intense that is now in the river is really nice. Bear in mind though, you really do need to be pretty good at landing hooks and flays consistently. So he is a champion that's probably the highest mechanical skilled champion in the S+ tier I've got there, but it's worth it if you can learn it as a tank. Nami has been pushed to S+. Now, she is one of the very few champions that can out-sustain and yet poke the enemy bot lane for some of this burst that comes out. So her W, if you're able to heal your AD carry with it and then ricochet that back into an enemy, and even maybe get the heal back yourself if you're feeling that clutch. There's a lot of value in the heal, especially in the laning phase. You will have some mana issues until your first recall, but her heals in laning phase and just the poke it comes from it against some of these squishier champions is really nice. And the poke she can do herself, being aggressive, especially if the enemy misses a skill shot as well, it's respectable. It's definitely respectable. Her ulti against the assassin matchup as well is pretty valuable. Jin's also been played a lot as a ED caster as well, so it gives you an option to remove his channel on his ulti. He might get 1 or 2 shots off, but it stops that 4th shot from coming through. But against a lot of the assassins, it will help disengage a crap ton. The one downside is though, her bubble is obviously still incredibly hard to land. You need to have practice of that and practice using that in different scenarios, but she is definitely, as long as you are aggressive enough to know when enemy cooldowns are happening, you can exploit that with, you know, auto attack W, auto attack, even weave in your E as well. It's the first few levels are pretty nice on Nami, a little bit mana intensive, but generally pretty nice. So yeah, and there's 2 champions that I haven't added to this tier list, which you may be wondering. One of them is Pyke, and the next one is Taliyah. Taliyah had a hot fix on, I believe it was Saturday. I'm not 100% sure, but she received some minor buffs again after having a mini rework done to her, with now her Q doesn't AoE. I need to do some testing to see if Taliyah's support is viable. I do not feel comfortable putting her anywhere on this list right now. I do not want to encourage people from playing her right now. I want to do my own testing and find out. I think in theory, she has really nice roam potential. Her knockup could be pretty good. My main concern is that she is a pretty low range in terms of some of these other AP supports, so she might be more vulnerable to being caught out. But it needs more testing. If I had to place her anywhere right now, it would be in the A tier. But I will update in the YouTube comment section below. In the next few days, I will definitely be doing Taliyah testing, and I will keep you guys updated in the YouTube comment section. Pyke. I've been playing Pyke a lot over the last, since he's been released. I have only been doing solo queue games at a Diamond 2 level and a between Plat 2 and D5. I have something like an 83% win rate on him at the moment. Now, Pyke, you need to play Pyke, you need to be able to know when to roam, when to abandon your AD carry, and also you need to know a lot about how much the champion can do. His damage isn't particularly high, but his CC can be great. You really need to work with more than one other person to get kills to kills. Even if you get far ahead in lane, getting solo kills, unless the enemy is very, very far behind and a squishy one, you're gonna find it difficult to get solo kills. In Pyke's current state, I think he is borderline between A and S. I think his main weaknesses are he could use a little bit more damage scaling. I feel like you need to be rewarded a little bit more for being ahead coming out of the learning phase. I would like to see a tiny bit more AD ult scaling for him to be worth it a little bit more, because you do fall behind in levels and his ult is odd. So once you level at level 6, every time you level, so it's level 7, level 8, level 9, his ult gets a slight damage increase. Now, when you hit level 11 and level 16, when you put points in that, all that will do is reduce your ulti cooldown by 20. The AD scaling on his ult isn't particularly amazing, so there can be situations where the enemies are really low HP, yet they're still not executable, even if you go for like damage lethality items. And the other issue is that because the execute window is so small, that we're talking like 0.25 seconds sometimes, because as again all the other assassins that are in your team are bursting people down like crazy, so putting off the execute is hard enough as it is, but then like sometimes the window is just it is non-existent. So sometimes you're having to like cast your ulti just to like get a tag. It's yeah, with all the assassins that are around right now, I think it would be easier once there's a couple. Once Riot sort out the situation with assassins being too strong, people will be bursted down a little bit less often in those like between 0 and 25%, because really his ult window is about 0 to 10 to 15% on most champions, even squishy targets. So his ult damage isn't particularly crazy. I know it's AoE and there's a leap factor to it, but sometimes it's quite easy to miss your ulti if you're not prepared to almost predict where the enemy is going to move to, and almost like know the cooldown on things like their blinks and things. So, and even their flashes as well. However, saying that his mobility is the best on the support by far. If they've got a mid laner that isn't mobile, then you can definitely just gank them constantly. I've got a couple more videos on my YouTube channel which are highlights of my diamond games and my plat games on Pyke, which show like how to roam and how strong he can be when you're roaming around the map on those games. But he's very prone to CC. He can survive the laning phase even though the enemy's bursty, as long as you can get out of vision of them to heal. But he does need a little bit more tuning to be considered an S+ or like OP support, if that makes sense. So right now I think he's perfectly balanced, but for him to even remotely climb up into S or S+, meta needs to change, or he needs more buffs, which I personally would. I don't think he should get, if he does get buffed, I don't think it should be much at all, because it's the sort of champion where currently assassins are strong now anyway, and if they buff him too much, then he's just going to be permabanned, or he's just going to do way too much damage in solo queue and it'd just be another Zoe but support. Okay guys, I hope the tier video helped you guys in picking some champions and champion selection. If I didn't say your champion, currently right now it's just a little bit like low, they're just a little bit like not optimal. You can of course still play them, especially if you enjoy playing the champions a lot, but there are a few rare cases where you can pick up some of those other champions, and this is my personal tier list, so obviously opinions change with everyone, but this is what I feel like's been working in solo queue last few days in this patch and the last patch before. these champions are kind of generally the most played supports in solo queue right now, and the top 4 there really do stand out in this current meta. And yeah, if you enjoyed the content, I stream on twitch.tv/Bizzleberry. Weekdays it's 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. UK time. On weekends it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon until late. Yeah, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe. I've got guides on all sorts of support champions. I've got lots of videos on Pyke. I've got coaching videos as well. If coaching is something you're interested in as well, feel free to join Discord and hang out there and leave a message in the appropriate channel, and maybe I'll review one of your games. But other than that, hope you guys take care. Good luck in solo queue, and watch out for all those assassins. Bye!